you were talking about the whole situation in the States, and basically, I didn't even realize it was that heavy. You know, you were talking about all these bands that now, if they rap rock, they go off,
Right.
and the companies don't even do any A&R. I just fucking ask you this question then: is there anything you would say to some piece of good advice or any remark to the industry itself, what they should do or shouldn't?
Well, I think that this thing makes me sad. It's not so much a musical question because people are going to get into whatever they're going to get into, and I'm all for that. What makes me sad is that, you know, in the mid '80s there was a slow movement of bands that believed in sort of a higher ideal of what music could mean. Whether it was innocent or not, naive or not, the idea that music could sort of change the world and mean something deeper. And for a long time, the kind of music that we were close to, the kind of music that we played, was sort of a secret. And it lived as a secret for a while. The bands we loved and the bands we got ourselves into. And when that all blew up and everybody took off, the sad thing is as much as we got to share those secrets with the world, it was basically the beginning and end of all that innocence about it, because the idea of the integrity, the idea of what it means to be in a band, the idea that you have to sort of walk right and be right because you got to stand up not just for yourself but for your community and stuff. That's all gone. That's just out the window. And I think
it was a big statement back in the day to be in a band as a whole. That's the way I saw it. Like, now it's like nothing. Everybody now can do whatever you want to do. Can say whatever you want to say without even being, have some embodiment in it.
Here we are sounding like old guys, but back in the day, the community policed itself. If somebody went off and somebody was sort of out of line, I certainly was out of line plenty of times, you heard about it. People in our own sort of musical community let you know that they didn't like where you were coming from. Now there's none of that. There's no community, so nobody's sort of putting anybody aside saying, you're coming from the wrong place. You don't realize what you're doing, that kind of thing. So I think that's sad. I think that the community of alternative music in particular, that's been lost, and I think that's the saddest part. What people are into, what they want to listen to, what they buy, whether they don't buy it, it's not really a big deal at the end of the day, because it's the values that we uphold as sort of a community that I think that's, it's like, we don't believe in the government, we don't believe in our teachers, we don't believe anything. At least we used to believe in what the music stood for. Now nobody even believes in that. So what do you believe in? You believe in fucking getting high and jumping off a roof? I don't know. I don't know what people believe in anymore. But it's sad, because I think that I learned so much from the musical community about what it means to be a person, what it means to walk right, and I just don't see that. I just don't see it anymore.
I hear you. But don't you think maybe that's another question I just get, that like on the internet on the whole, you were talking about those back in the day, those bands who had, got policed by the community itself, spoke for the community, and it was like a pretty cool statement, to be in a band back in the days. These people can be on the internet and basically create this revolution with the public. What is your opinion about internet itself and the possibilities? About anything about? So I'm not going to talk about Napster, because
No, I know where you're coming from. I think there's two things to really focus on. One is it is wide open, and there is the potentiate for real change. And Napster was, whether whatever side of you are on that article, on that thing, whether you're on the Napster side, the Metallica side, whatever. The fact of the matter is the consumers, the people out there who are buying or not buying, they're going to decide where this all goes. It's not going to be really up to the artists. So I think we just ought to get on the train and sort of ride and see where people want to take it, because they're going to take it somewhere cooler and something, I think, much more interesting. The only thing about it is despite all this sort of utopian idealism that, hey, it's going to be great and everybody's going to be able to put their music up and there won't be this middleman, don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. All the major companies are sort of circling their wagons and they're gearing up. And the moment that shit looks free and the techno kids are in control, it won't be. The people will swoop in, they'll buy everything up, and they'll go right back to controlling it. So, Pete Townsend had it right when he said, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Don't be fooled. Always keep your eye on the prize of what it means to be free, to express, but don't be fooled into thinking that this community, this internet ideal is going to exist outside the world of the mainstream, the media, the money interest, because the money interest in the media are
But
going to
there's
control
one thing,
this.
they don't even know shit from no when it comes to all these capabilities with the internet. They lack the knowledge of internet itself, which is a big thing. Plus, as a third party, the public is involved. I don't see if that's gonna change for the better of these companies. Like the old boss gonna be the same boss, you know? How I mean.
Well, it starts with who and disseminating the information. Now you're going to have instances where the major media is going to be owned, that you're talking about a merger with AOL and Time. So who's in bed with who? The moment you put on your computer and you click on your AOL, the first thing you're going to see is whatever somebody wants you to see. And that's power. There's no getting around that. If the first thing you see is, Celine Dion or, some new movie with Wesley Snipes, whether you're into it or not, that's going to be the first thing you see, and that is where the power lies. The kids have got it right. They've got their own thing going. They're going to copyright. They're going to bootleg music if they want to. They're going to pirate whatever. They're going to pirate movies. They're going to do whatever they want. But the main sort of middle of it's going to be controlled. There's no doubt about it. There's too much money, and they're just going to swoop and they're going to take over everything. So the thing is rather than get sort of bummed in the idea of like, oh, gee, this is going to suck when, this all turns over, it's just be aware, be open, and know that it's coming, and so you be prepared for what that means. Don't fool yourself.
Oh, well, I think what you're saying is absolutely right. I think that for bands and for artists like you and me, it's maybe even just cooler to continue on that level that we can relate to with the kids, and all the other stuff can fly by, to my point of view, because it will never be the same. That's true. It will never come back all these days, it's the way it is.
Yeah. But I think I like to focus on the positive possibilities. Like we just released this free record on the internet, and everyone keeps saying, what does that mean? What does free mean? It's free.
It's free.
We gave it to some
It's out
fans,
there.
and we said, do whatever we want with it. They put it up on their own servers. They uploaded it to Napster, and we got more sort of excitement, attention, and energy from that singular act than anything else we've done this year. And that's because it's in the spirit of where we come from. It's in the spirit of like, fuck you, I'm just going to do it the way I want. I don't want to hear about all this other shit. And, rock and roll and business is always an uneasy marriage.
Yeah, I hear you.
So,
Uneasy partners. The thing is also with
I always say, two thieves in bed. You know what I mean? You're afraid to sleep because they'll stab you in the back.
Rob Blind, you're fucking funny, kid. Corgan. But another thing, like, which reminds me what Chuck D said, He said, to a point, it's done with the lazy artists, too. I mean, people like you and me, we know how it is to be on stage and maybe we could, thrive on that for what we need to be creative and at the same time get possibility financially to make another record, which is, I mean, if we can live with and we have the love for music, obviously, it could be a cool thing. So he was saying, the time of the lazy artist could also be done. I mean, you said Britney Spears and stuff. It could be like, hey, whatever they're doing, they have to do because it's all superficial. It's like launching stuff. While we built the whole house for myself from the get-go.
Right.
On stage, get our people that are into us, and maybe there's a point where we should see the industry like that for us and leave. Should I say that upper thing the way it is? How do you see that?
Well, I think that I think you're right. I think that the first thing, if you want to be an artist, any kind of integrity, that's the thing you got to get square. Because I've been fighting for the last 4 years. I've been fighting the way the music industry's gone, and it's gotten me absolutely nowhere. It's gotten me nowhere. And the minute we sort of gave up fighting the industry and said, we're just going to go back to doing things the way we want to do them, forget about it, that's when everything started to happen again. Because people respond to the sort of the freedom and the energy of that. So I'm with you. To me, it's like we just have to go back to sort of like a secret society, and we'll build our own world again. And the right people will find it. And now and the great thing about the internet is now we're talking about access, not just to the people who live around the corner or the people who live in the cool neighborhood. You're talking about access to kids in Bali and China and wherever else they're going to run these wires. So I'm into all
every
that.
corner.
But, you know, there was that one moment in time where it seemed like it was going to turn, and maybe it was a dream, but it just didn't happen. So, you know, it's like a war. You know, you just go back to, you know, you go back down on the ground, you get everybody lined up, and we'll march again. So, because you know, the only other generation that I really see that did anything close to what Gen X did was the 60s generation. And we saw what they did. They all got all burned out on drugs, and they all freaked out and got too crazy. So I don't see us making that mistake. I see a lot of artists trying to make their message, but they're sort of stuck in between the two worlds. So, you know, we have a unique opportunity as we move into our 30s and our 40s to redefine what it means to be an artist and have to be an embarrassment, not have to do stupid shit to get it across. And this is where the internet and this is where going back to the street, it gives us the potential to do that. And I'm with you, you know, I'm with you. So we'll start there, and, you know, if you got to play the game, you play the game. You know, there's no shame in that.
No.
But the heart is still, you know, down with the people, and you know, that's the way we feel. That's the way we play the way we do. That's why we're still out here slugging it out. So.
I hear you. It's basically, I have no question. Maybe one simple question. Even after responding, because it's all about you and the band. Do you have any regrets, like from back in the past, or you were saying things like, and I know you fought this whole industry. Is there anything you would say to yourself, well, maybe I should have done this, or shouldn't have said something else, or what? You don't have to.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's tough because, you know, even when you stumble, even when you fall, you learn something sort of as you go, as you fall down, you know? So I've learned so much from falling down, just as much as I've learned from sitting on top of a mountain and everybody would tell you how smart you are. So it's hard to say. I mean, I'd say probably the only true regret that I have as a member of the Pumpkins is the fact that we couldn't sort of stay intact as unit for, you know, all these, you know, 12, 13 years, that the four of us couldn't have hung tough all the way through it, that life and other pressures sort of got the best of us at different times. Each one of us has had our sort of turn at madness, and so I'd say that's my only regret. But and when I say that, people sort of perceive it one way to mean that you know, the possibilities of what could have happened if we had sort of managed to always stay together. But for me, it's more of a personal issue in the sense that I wish we could have made this ride all the way, you know. And that's sort of my only regret, is that, you know, we could have held it together. But you know, anybody who's tried it knows it's impossible. I mean, it's an impossible task, especially if you're trying to do anything real, especially if you're trying to, like, really represent where you come from.
Well, sometimes the storm at sea is really rough, and some people might fall off, and nobody can help that.
Well, Captain of the ship's still here.
I hear you.